So our third album is Want by Esther Rose. So back to you, Kiley. A second mention of Esther after the shout out for the gig, which I went to earlier in the month.
Yeah, May 2nd was a big release day here in Santa Fe. Besides Free Range Buddhas, we had the current jewel of Santa Fe, Esther Rose, who has, I think, this is her third record. Typically in the past, been more of a country singer-songwriter vein, and there's plenty of slide pedal steel guitar on this record. But I think this record for me was really exciting because she's gone in a little bit more of a rockier direction. I think down to I like the dichotomy of the album cover, one with her in the white dress and then one with her in the leather jumpsuit. Kind of shows the two sides of this record. And we were just praising Blonde Shell's lyrics. For me, this is even better. I think it's a more mature look at a lot of the same things, and kicking off with the title track Want, just shifting the comparisons of I want this, but I don't want what comes with that. Just really, I connected with that quite a bit. Really like Dean Johnson. He's a Seattle singer-songwriter. When he shows up on Scars for a duet, really like that. And Want does a really good job because, as you can attest to, Andrew, a lot of times Esther plays solo. A lot of times she's with the band, and the band tracks on here are fantastic. And then the solo stuff like Messenger, I think, is just as strong when it's just her and a guitar. So yeah, this has been connections aside, just I think one of the great pleasures of the year for me. Really enjoy this record, and very happy for her getting all the bigwig coverage and really stepping it up here.
There we go. So Karl, what did you make of Want?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll tell you what, I have enjoyed these last couple of months. We had Nottingham with Divorce in March. This month we've had Reading with the Amazons, and now we've got a taste of, for the Santa Fe music scene as well with Esther Rose. So I like how that's kind of lined up. Get a little taste of each other's local scene over the last couple of months. But yeah, I didn't know anything about Esther before this month, but yeah, just what a lovely little record this is. I mean, you mentioned that opening title track, Kiley. I mean, that just hooks you in immediately. Love the arrangement. Love that, living a real life refrain. Love lyrically, like you say, what she does lyrically on that song, easily one of the highlights. Just a fantastic way to start the record. Also love Ketamine. That's the name of a song before anyone comes at
me. We're gonna just take that out of context and add that on the 5 to 9 channel.
No, please don't do that. But yeah, I got those grungy guitars and that wonderful line again. I noted it down. You look so sweet when your eyes get a little sleepy. I love you absolutely completely. So I thought, yeah, lyrically, as you say, Kiley, she's got a great turn of phrase. And I think that's where, as you say, that's where this record really shines for me, is in her songwriting. Rescue You straight after, fantastic as well. Then we get that Dean Johnson collab, beautiful harmonies on there. And yeah, there's a few moments on here reminiscent of Waxahachie. So if anyone's listening, and is a fan of Waxahachie, definitely check out Esther. Because yeah, similar vibe, and yeah, in my book, never a bad thing. New Bad and the Clown, really enjoy those two tracks. And then the one that I want to shout out in the back end, Color Wheel, which is like this, really striking moment in the back end where you just get Esther and these minimal acoustic guitars and like that piano. It's quite unlike anything on the record, and those moments always stand out to me. I think that's really lovely. And then One Part Two, really strong closing track. I think for me, those two kind of bookend tracks, the way they bring the album together, lyrically, sonically, probably my favorites on here. I know you mentioned Messenger, Kylie. I think that's the one that that's maybe a miss for me. I think because she's so strong lyrically in other places, obviously that one's a bit more repetitive. And I think that's the one where if that was off the track list, I wouldn't have missed it. But that aside, really lovely, easy listening record. Some really great highs on here, and definitely the 2 Want tracks are right up there for me. And really enjoyed this, and great to get a further flavour of, after Free Range Buddhas, get a further flavour of Santa Fe into my ears this month. So
Yeah, it's a good flavour. So just as I mentioned, it's been a kind of Esther Rose month basically, and again, kind of that nervousness when having you said, "I'll get you a ticket for the show and stuff," and then I go, yeah, and then you kind of go, "Will I like it?" That's the kind of thing, and well, have I just signed up for an evening in London where this kind of thing, and then thankfully, with the benefit of listening to one ahead of that show, I was fully in on this one, and I think Dichotomy really sums it up really well. I don't know if it's the Gemini in me which loves dichotomy in music, but as you mentioned, the album cover with the wedding dress and then the black kind of leather outfit. I mean, seeing her at the Lexington, she was wearing a very modest kind of black t-shirt, but then she was wearing black leather trousers, and that again was kind of like, there's the laid back kind of country styles, but then I can also be a rock chick, and this album kind of does both. And it's one, I just really, to be honest, with all the ones we do on this pod, I do my kind of amount which gets me to review, and then I usually park it. But with this one, I just have just kept going. So I got the CD at the show. I've given it to my mother-in-law, who's quite into country music, and I said, give this a go. And I just think this is one that's just really nestled in. I mean, few tracks which I particularly enjoy. I mean, Color Wheels, one you mentioned, Karl, for its uniqueness, I suppose, on the album. Also, the production on that is just incredibly minimalist, which I quite like. You always hear it's like an echoey room in parts of it, but not liked by everyone. I did read a review which kind of took that apart, which I thought was, I don't know, I liked it. So, the clown, which I've come to learn is about herself and not going out with a professional clown, which is what I thought it was about. But again, just excellent. I mean, this is part of a quartet of songs in a row, and I'm actually going backwards from Color Wheel being the 10th song down to the 7th. New Bad, which I think ultimately is the dichotomy song, which, well, actually it's the devil on the shoulder, like, you know what, I am bad, I'm gonna make these mistakes, I'm not to be trusted, and that so goes against the lyrics in most of the other songs where she's wanting that settling down, and I suppose that's a nice arc back to the title track, in terms of just things not being so straightforward, and not just I just want the easy happy-go-lucky relationship vibe. Actually, you know what, I also want that freedom, I want that free life, and kind of being the bad girl as is kind of referred to in that song. And opposite to you, Karl, but Messenger is the start of that quartet of songs which I absolutely love on this album, and reminded me a bit of kind of Elliott Smith with the kind of intimate, vulnerable vocals on there. I thought the lyrics are actually quite trippy. And it's kind of that, I don't know, referencing, are we in control of our own thoughts? Where do they come from? You know, the song which easily could have been induced somehow. Not that it is, and particularly knowing, you know, Esther's story, she ran through and being sober now for a number of years. But that's the kind of vibe of that song, and I like that kind of psychedelic acoustic number, which unfortunately was not played at the Lexington, and that was my one main gripe about that show, particularly as it was an acoustic song on the album, and she was doing anyway. Rescue You, about this like troubling court case, and another one really highlight, and Ketamine as well, which is actually about kind of using ketamine as like therapy, basically, like small doses and stuff, and kind of, you know, getting through tough times. So those sort of 6, I suppose, are like, for me, the absolute pinnacle of this album. You know, I love the 2 title tracks, Want and Want Part 2. Tailspin featuring Video Age is another great track on here. Scars was probably on the album I didn't love as much, but live it really brought it home. And so I've actually retrospectively upped my score on that one, which basically means no bad track for me on this at all. And another one which, you know, we had the Amazons at the top, another one which is very, very high on my overall list for the year so far.